As we get started, and Coach, you've already touched on this some, but one they ask what your knowledge of NASCAR is, and Kevin what's your knowledge of Virginia Tech football?
I think for me, I've learned a lot about Virginia Tech football today, and just you know, and not going to college and being able to see the facility and everything that goes in. I mean, this is a first-class facility and a lot of great people to make it go around. So there's a lot of similarities between what it takes to make a race team go around and what it makes a football team or any other business for that fact. It takes good people, it takes dedication, and it takes you know, determination to do what you have to do. So just a lot of similarities, and have enjoyed my afternoon.
You know, Kevin came into our meeting, and we had all our people there, and I think we do have similar. You know, the whole organization's got to be good. You know, it's not just the driver or head coach or whatever. So I think there's some similarities there. And to answer your question, I know a lot about NASCAR. I follow it and like it. I've driven a race car at Bristol and didn't hit a wall. Kept it on the track.
You didn't run enough laps.
No. But
you'll get something at Bristol eventually.
You know, I ran 15 laps, and I had a new appreciation that day for what it takes for a guy to drive a car, and the car's that close the whole day long, and you know, I mean, it takes. I really have great respect for what these guys do and how they operate, and really appreciate NASCAR.
Okay, we ask that you raise your hands. We'll get you the microphones, and just also identify who you're asking the question of. We'll start right back here in the middle.
This question for Kevin. How much confidence do you have going into this chase off your win at Richmond, especially, and with some tracks that you're very strong at in the chase, especially getting that first Cup win at Martinsville in the spring, plus how well you've run at all these other tracks, especially mile and a halves?
Yeah, you know, for us, it was a tough summer. I mean, we, you know, I think the thing that led to that was, you know, winning the 3 races at the beginning of the year and pretty much knowing that we were going to be in the chase, at least as a wild card. So as we went through the summer, we tried a tremendous amount of things, and most of them, you know, wound up not working. And then we had a tough time just putting it all back together, just getting back to where we were. So we ran so bad at Bristol as a team. We came in Sunday morning, and all 4 Cup teams and every employee that worked on those cars were sitting in the conference room wondering what we needed to do. We made a lot of changes, you know, trying to get our cars back and trying to figure out exactly what we had done differently, and went to Atlanta and ran really well. So I like the racetracks. Obviously, Chicago's been a good track. We won the last race at Martinsville. So there's a lot of good racetracks in the chase for us, and I like the experience that we got to go through last year as a team, running for a championship. These last 10 weeks are not like the first 26. It's time to go, and you load up all your friends in the plane with you, and you get off the plane as a group, and you get back on as a group. You don't really care what's in between or who gets in the way. It's trying to win a championship now.
Do you do anything different since you're the lone RCR driver in the chase, unlike years past where a whole, like a good portion of the teams in the stable are in the chase?
You know, obviously we wish we had all 4 cars in the chase as a company. That would be great. I think for us, you know, I think we get the best of both worlds. I think with those guys not being in the chase, they can try some things on the racetrack, in the shop. You know, it's pretty much whatever we need. Everybody wants to make that sacrifice to try to bring the championship to RCR. So everybody's on board. I was at the shop Monday, and somebody from every team has said, you know, whatever we need to do, just let us know. So it's going to be interesting, you know, whether we win or not. You know, I think that last couple of weeks the guys have done a good job in bringing everybody together, and these things aren't easy to win. So it's going to be fun.
With the merger with KHI and RCR, how much does that free you up for the chase coming up? And does that kind of take a load off your mind, knowing that all you have to worry about right now is driving?
You know, it's you know, I'm glad it's off my mind. You know, we've been working on it for a while, myself and Richard, and I think it's going to elevate the performance of the nationwide teams next year. And you know, for myself and Delana, it's going to allow us to do some things, not having to be involved on a day-to-day basis. We're still going to be heavily involved, but you know, having that responsibility of having to make sure that the payroll comes through, and having to make sure that when you have a little problem with an employee, you know, you got to be there to handle it. I'm basically, you know, on Sunday right now for the last 10 weeks, I'm worried about making sure that my mind is where it needs to be, and I feel like we've made a lot of steps towards being mentally prepared with the mind as we go into these last 10 weeks. So I feel like we're in a good place right now.
Kevin, how would you rate your Chase performance last year? I mean, you look at the results, it's the final standings, it's a very credible effort, but sort of how do you characterize how you ran the last 10 races?
Well, everybody likes to look at stats. So, you know, we had the best average finish, but that didn't get it done. We averaged a 5.8 finish over 10 weeks, and you know, that didn't get it done. So, you know, we came back and we analyzed the two biggest things that we felt like we needed to do in the chase were make our pit crew better, and we got to win a race or two in the chase. That's the bottom line. You got to have the points, you got to have the bonus points, and in between that, you know, last year we didn't have any real big failures or you know, any weeks that were just devastating to us, and we got to keep those to a minimum. And when we're having a bad day, you have to, you know, make the most out of it. So it's really, every chase takes on its own characteristics, and you never really know. It's just like showing up to a football game. You never really know how the day is going to go, but the good teams always find a way to get it done in the end, whether it's by, you know, one lap, whether you lead one lap or you lead 200 in some laps like we did last week. You got to figure out a way to win, and that's where the experience comes through.
Back right in the room.
Kevin, here with the chase just getting started, which one do you think is more important? Getting off to a really quick start in the chase, having some really high finishes, or avoiding a really bad start, a really slow start, where maybe a wreck or mechanical issues that puts you kind of behind the eight ball?
It's 1 week at a time. You know, it's one battle at a time. It's you know, you're trying to just. We made it through the first part of the battle. We made it into the chase. We aren't giving up any points on bonus points to anybody else on wins, where we thought we started off behind last year because we didn't win enough in the first 26. So we've accomplished the first part of the goal. Now it's about going to Chicago and, you know, looking at all the notes and preparing everything that you need to. So you don't ever want to have, you know, anything go wrong. So right now we're trying to control the things that are in our control and do the best job that we can with those pieces, and try to play our cards right with the pieces that we can control, and whatever happens from there, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be.
Kevin, after your win at Martinsville, I think you led just a few laps. You mentioned that's all that really matters. And I think you mentioned back then that your dad had kind of instilled that mentality in you early on. Can you kind of refresh my memory on that and sort of where that whole idea comes from, and
Yeah.
your influence of your dad and all that?
Well, first off, we couldn't afford to race, but we still raced somehow. And you know, my mom would work at the local elementary school as a secretary. My dad was a firefighter, and somehow we were at the local racetrack spending money racing cars. So we raced off of what we won every week. So if you tore your car up early in the race, A, you didn't win very much that weekend for prize money, and B, you probably didn't get to race next week because you didn't win enough money. So, you know, I was always taught to take care of everything that I had until it was time to go, and then you make the sacrifices that you have to try to win the race and do what you have to do from there. So that was just the way my dad taught me to race, was, you know, be aggressive when it was time, but, you know, we couldn't afford to tear our stuff up because we couldn't afford to fix it.
Frank, how fast did you go around Bristol?
I didn't break any records. And somebody guys said they thought I really wasn't nervous about running into the wall with people looking. Matter of fact, I had the 5 other guys that was in the race, and I tried to get a deal going before the race. I said, look, none of us know how to race cars, and so why don't we all just ride down the lower part of the track. If you want to pass, just pass on the outside, and that way we don't run into each other. And these guys didn't want to do it. The Akers kid that kicked for Philadelphia, he's with somebody else now. I later found out And he wants to be a race car driver after he finishes kicking. And he runs in some kind of league with Dale Earnhardt Jr. or something during the week. So these guys didn't want to do it. But I told them, I said, now look, I'll tell you where I'm going to be. I'm going to be on the lower part of the track. If you want to pass me, go around the outside and don't run into me. But I've got to tell you this. Akers started first. I started second. My daughter Casey was there. And so we ran 15 laps. And I noticed a lot of people were going by me. But I was just trying not to run into the wall. I really was. Just trying not to run into the wall. And so I got through with the race, just happy as heck. I hadn't run into a wall. I ran the 15 laps. And I said, Casey, my daughter Casey, I said, did everybody in that group pass me? And she said, I'm not sure if everyone did, but Akers passed you twice. And he started out in front of me, so he went around the track twice. But somebody told me they'd seen me run faster out on Interstate 81 than I did in that race that day. So I don't know exactly how fast I was.
The walls are intimidating.
They are.
Did you have Miss Daisy with you, Frank?
Well, I have a guy that works for me, Josh. He used to be a kicker. He's the strangest guy in our office. Is the kicker the strangest guy in your team?
I tell you, that's kind of the reputation of kickers, but we got pretty sane guys here. They're kind of okay.
Okay.
Kevin, what do you do to keep this Kurt Busch, Jimmy Johnson thing going so you can just drive off into the sunset laughing?
I've been trying to catch up on all that. It seems like after the Friday night that I had, it kind of took a lot of heat off of us. But the sport has just become so competitive, and this time of year it just goes up a notch, and everybody's pretty short. The fuses are short right now, so that's not to be unexpected, I would say.
You ought to be nice to Jenna, right?
Only on occasion.
Martinsville's the only short track in the Chase. Having grown up racing short tracks and so forth before coming up to Cup, do you feel like there needs to be more short tracks on the schedule? Iowa's currently sitting out there not being run for a Cup race. You have a lot of 1.5 miles, not a lot of short track racing, not a lot of road course racing. That's not really your thing. Do you feel like there needs to be more short tracks on the schedule, or are you kind of happy with how the schedule is?
With all the race team mergers and all the things that have happened over the last few weeks, I've learned a couple things. I got to worry about driving the cars now and doing my part, making sure that we get the cars competitive. But the schedule stuff, NASCAR is really in control of that. I enjoy the short tracks, and I enjoy going to Martinsville, and I think it's a great addition to be a part of the Chase. The sport was built off of short tracks, though. So more short tracks definitely wouldn't hurt things. And I believe there needs to be a road course in the Chase. I think if you want to have the best team that's the best on all the different racetracks, road course racing is a part of that. Some people would argue, there's only 2 in a year, or whatever the case may be. But I don't think that I think the Chase tracks should shake up every year, and I think there should be a little bit more diversity in the racetracks in the Chase.
Coach, you're a big NASCAR fan. You're familiar with the Chase, and this is kind of NASCAR's version of the postseason. Generates a lot of excitement. What would your thoughts be on some type of playoff format in college football?
Well, I think we're talking about something that's probably not going to happen. A couple years back, when they were talking about how 4 teams at the end play, and then the 2 winners play, and then the presidents voted that down because it's too much like a playoff. I just don't think it's going to happen. And I thought that was a good idea at the time. I think, there's about 4 teams, and I came up with that when we played Auburn, when they were undefeated, and there's 2 other undefeated teams, and Auburn was good enough to play for the national championship that year. But the other thing that's going to be interesting, now, is and there's so much talk about this, and whether it's going to happen, I'm not sure, but whether it's going to be like 4 16-team leagues and the 4 winners play, and does it go in that direction? But otherwise, I think we'd be talking about something that's not going to happen.
Kevin, what did you do today here, or what are you planning to do? Maybe Frank can help out with that. What is the plan?
Yeah, we basically have had a tour of the facility and got to meet all the coaches on the football team. We went up and met the wrestling coach and just kind of took a tour and kind of got familiar with just the facility and the activities and just really that's about it and the media stuff here.
Kevin, is there a difference in mentality when you go to a track like Martinsville, say, since we're having one of their events, where you go into it like in the spring thinking that you have a chance to win, but going back in the fall knowing that you can win? Is there a difference in mentality when you're able to finally realize what it takes to win at one of those tracks?
Well, I think anytime after you finally do something that you've been trying to do for a while and you finally accomplish that, it definitely eases your mind. And you remember those situations and you remember the things that you did to make it happen that day. But in my opinion, that's what's great about our team is I feel like even when the cards are stacked against us or even when people count us out, I feel like we can always rebound and we can always do things that surprise people, or whether it's lead one lap or half a lap or 500 laps. I mean, it's just Martinsville's been one of those places that's just never had all the circumstances work out for us on a whole day. I feel like we've run well enough to race for wins there, but we just never had made it happen until the spring.
Back to that final question.
Kurt, talk about the last caution, the last pit stop.
Yeah, the last pit stop is really what put us in position to win the race, and there's been a lot of talk about pit crews and things that have surrounded our team over the last year. Obviously, I don't have a problem speaking my mind about things that when I feel like they're not right, but we had a great pit stop and the guys got us out first, and I was having a lot of trouble on the restarts, and being able to dictate the speed and how we led up to that last restart was big for me, and our car was fairly good on the short run, so it all worked out good. But the guys on pit road have made it happen.
Kevin, did you ever imagine a press conference where Tony Stewart and Kyle Busch would be two of the same people on the podium?
I watched it last night, and it was very awkward to watch. You had Jimmy on one end, he had Kurt Busch on the other end, and Kurt was tearing papers up, and I don't know, but all of the press conferences last week were a little bit awkward. So
What was up with the magnums of champagne?
I don't know.
They hand those out to everybody?
Oh, the ones that sprayed?
Yeah, the big ones.
I guess we just.
I think the Bush brothers were drinking there.
Well, they need to drink a few more.
Thank you very much.
Here, I want to do this, Clay, come on up here, but I wish Kevin good luck as he starts the chase here. And we got a hat for him. And then we got a jersey that's got the right number on it and the right name on it.
Thank you very much.
So good luck to you.
Thank you. We actually brought a little something for you as well. We had a replica helmet painted up for you, so that you can put that on your desk.
Absolutely great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for everything.
Yeah, good job. Enjoyed having y'all here. Well, that's neat. Next time I drive at Bristol or
Oh, don't wear that one.
I'm going to drive at Martinsville next time.
Come up here if you would, please. Mr. Brent. Coach, we know you've been to Martinsville numerous times, and I think the last time you were our Grand Marshal and didn't get out of Blacksburg because of the weather, so hopefully we'll have you back soon. But for when you do, we have you 2 lifetime invitations to our suite, presidential suite. So I guess this is like a fire hose or fire extinguisher. You got to break the glass when you want to use it. But anyway, I'll take back anytime you see it.
Great, I'll be there.
We've got a lot of fans that keep money for 50 days.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much.